discover the extraordinary life of Dina Merrill, an iconic American actress who defied expectations. Born Nedenia Marjorie Hutton into immense wealth as the daughter of Wall Street titan E.F. Hutton and Post Cereal heiress Marjorie Merriweather Post, her childhood at estates like Mar-a-Lago seemed destined for society pages, not Hollywood. Yet Merrill carved her own path, famously paying for acting lessons by modeling for Vogue despite her family's fortune. Explore her compelling journey from Broadway to classic films like Operation Petticoat and BUtterfield 8, her successful transition to television, and her surprising career as a businesswoman, even acquiring RKO Studios. Delve into the hidden heartaches and triumphs that shape this elegant, resilient, and independent star. Dina Merrill was born Nedenia Marjorie Hutton on December 29, 1923, in the heart of New York City. Dina Merrill's early life was anything but ordinary. Her father was Edward Francis Hutton, the titan of Wall Street who founded E.F. Hutton and Company, a name that once resonated with financial power. Her mother was the formidable Marjorie Merriweather Post, heiress to the vast Post cereal fortune and a socialite of unparalleled influence. Imagine growing up in a world where your winter home was Mar-a-Lago, the sprawling Palm Beach estate that would later become a presidential retreat. This was Dina's reality. Her family's homes weren't just houses. They were palatial estates filled with art, antiques, and an army of staff. Living in such opulence, one might expect a sheltered, perhaps even naive upbringing. But Dina, even as a child, possessed a keen observational eye and a quiet determination that set her apart. Even with immense wealth, her childhood wasn't without its complexities. Her parents, a powerhouse couple in their own right, divorced when Dina was just 10. This early experience perhaps instilled in her a sense of self-reliance that would define her later years. She had 2 elder half-sisters from her mother's previous marriages, Adelaide Brevoort Close and Eleanor Post Hutton, creating a complicated family dynamic often seen in the circles of the ultra-rich. She was also a first cousin to the famed heiress Barbara Hutton, known as the poor little rich girl, and a first cousin once removed to Lance Reventlow. These connections, while part of her heritage, highlighted a world where immense privilege often came with its own unique set of pressures and expectations. Despite her family's incredible affluence, Dina wasn't content to simply bask in the glow of inherited wealth. She held a quiet ambition, a desire to carve out her own path, even if it meant defying the expectations of her powerful parents. Her father, in particular, envisioned a career in law for his bright daughter, perhaps even a run for Congress. He saw in her the intellect and charisma needed for public service, a path far removed from the dramatic arts. But Dina had other plans that shocked her family and set her on a collision course with convention. Dina's journey into acting began with a quiet rebellion. After a year at George Washington University, she made a pivotal decision to drop out and enroll in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. This was no impulsive whim. It was a deeply considered choice. What's truly remarkable is how she funded this pursuit. Dina, an heiress who was already a millionaire thanks to her father's shrewd investments, took on modeling jobs for Vogue magazine, earning a modest $10 an hour to pay for her acting lessons. She famously stated that she would never think of asking her parents to finance something they didn't believe in. This speaks volumes about her independent spirit and determination. It was during this time that she adopted her stage name, Dina Merrill, a suggestion from her brother-in-law, inspired by her father's prominent Wall Street colleague, Charles E. Merrill. This choice, too, underscored her desire to forge her own identity, distinct from the formidable Hutton Post legacy. Her stage debut arrived in 1945 in John Van Druten's The Mermaid Singing on Broadway, where she delivered a grand total of 3 lines. Yet, it was a beginning, a stepping stone into the world she craved. She returned to Broadway in 1975 in Angel Street, and later revived the musical On Your Toes in 1983, showcasing her versatility beyond drama. In 1991, she participated in the off-Broadway reading of Wit and Wisdom, proving her dedication to the craft even later in life. But it was in the world of cinema where Dina Merrill truly began to shine. She made her official film debut in 1957 with a supporting role in the sharp and sophisticated film Desk Set. With her aristocratic bearing, impeccable style, and refined accent, Hollywood quickly cast her in roles that mirrored her real-life persona. The elegant socialite, the sophisticated wife, the epitome of high society. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, she was even touted as a potential successor to Grace Kelly, with publications proclaiming her Hollywood's new Grace Kelly in 1959. This comparison was both a blessing and a curse. While it provided initial buzz in comparison to a beloved regal figure, it also perhaps pigeonholed her into a specific type of role, the elegant, unattainable socialite, limiting her range in the eyes of some critics and casting directors. Her filmography from this era reads like a classic Hollywood roster: Operation Petticoat, 1959, alongside the legendary Cary Grant, Butterfield 8, 1960, with Elizabeth Taylor and Lawrence Harvey, and The Young Savages, 1961, opposite Burt Lancaster. She wasn't just a beautiful face, she held her own among the era's biggest stars, delivering performances that, while often supporting, were always memorable. Other notable film appearances included A Nice Little Bank That Should Be Robbed, 1958, Don't Give Up the Ship, 1959, The Sundowners, 1960, and The Courtship of Eddie's Father, 1963. Even decades later, she continued to act, appearing in films like The Player, 1992, and Shade, 2003, showcasing her enduring passion for her craft. However, as the 1960s progressed, the types of roles available to her began to shift, and her film career gradually receded. But Dina Merrill was not one to fade into the background. She seamlessly transitioned to television, becoming a ubiquitous presence on the small screen. She graced popular shows like Dr. Kildare, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, Roseanne, and even The Nanny. A particularly memorable and delightfully campy turn came in 1968 when she played the villainous Calamity Jan in 2 episodes of Batman, appearing alongside her then-husband Cliff Robertson. She also became a familiar face on game shows and panel programs like Match Game to Tell the Truth, What's My Line, and Hollywood Squares, showcasing her wit and charm to a broader audience. She even hosted a weekly PBS television series called Decor in 1998, focusing on home furnishings, further highlighting her varied interests and ability to connect with an audience. Her extensive television work, including series like Bonanza, Mission Impossible, and Quincy M.E., solidified her status as a versatile and beloved performer. Beyond the glitz of Hollywood, a lesser-known facet of Dina Merrill's life was her deep commitment to philanthropy and her sharp business acumen. While many knew her as an actress, few realized the extent of her involvement in the corporate world. For over 18 years, she served on the boards of both E.F. Hutton and Company and Lehman Brothers, a remarkable feat for any woman, let alone a prominent actress in that era. This quiet influence in the male-dominated world of finance showcased her intelligence and strategic thinking. She wasn't just a figurehead. She was an active, contributing member, earning respect in an entirely different arena. But perhaps the most surprising of her ventures was her role in the resurrection of RKO Studios. In 1989, along with her third husband, Ted Hartley, she acquired the legendary RKO Studios, renaming it RKO Pavilion. She took on the demanding role of vice chairman and creative director, demonstrating a keen understanding of the entertainment industry from a corporate perspective. Together they established RKO Pictures, which acquired the intellectual property of the original RKO Radio Pictures. She even served as an executive producer for the 1996 film Milk and Money. This move wasn't just about preserving film history, it was about actively participating in the business of filmmaking, a testament to her multifaceted talents and her unwavering belief in the power of storytelling. Despite the glittering facade of fame and fortune, Dina Merrill's life was not without profound personal struggles and heart-wrenching loss. The glamour of her public image often belied a deeply human experience, marked by immense joy and unbearable sorrow. One of the most poignant and rarely discussed aspects of her life was the series of personal tragedies she endured. Dina was married 3 times, first to Stanley M. Rumbaugh, Jr., an heir to the Colgate-Palmolive fortune, from 1946 to 1966. They had 3 children, Nedenia Colgate Rumbaugh, David Post Rumbaugh, and Stanley Rumbaugh III. Her second marriage was to actor Cliff Robertson from 1966 to 1986, with whom she had another daughter, Heather Robertson. Her final marriage was to actor and investor Ted Hartley, beginning in 1989, and they remained devoted partners until her passing. The deepest cuts came with the loss of 2 of her 4 children, both preceding her in death. Her son David Post Rumbaugh died in a boating accident in 1973, just weeks before his 24th birthday. This devastating news was a crushing blow. Imagine the agony of losing a child so young, so suddenly, especially when he was on the cusp of adulthood. Then, years later, her daughter Heather Robertson succumbed to ovarian cancer in 2007 at the tragically young age of 38. These were not the stories splashed across tabloids in the same way as her glamorous appearances. These were private heartbreaks, wounds that lingered and shaped the woman behind the public persona. The double grief of losing 2 children, so far apart in time and circumstance, speaks to an unimaginable burden carried with immense quiet dignity. A close friend, who prefers to remain unnamed, once recounted a quiet moment with Dina, long after Heather's passing. They were at her beloved home in East Hampton, a place of peace and beauty for her, and Dina was looking through old family photo albums. As she came across a picture of Heather as a child, bright-eyed and full of life, a single tear traced a path down her cheek. She simply whispered, "She should be here. They both should be here." It was a fleeting, unguarded moment that revealed the enduring pain beneath her composed exterior. This wasn't just a celebrity enduring loss. It was a mother, a human being grappling with the unimaginable. These deeply personal losses undoubtedly influenced her later dedication to philanthropic causes, especially her extensive work with the New York City Mission Society, providing aid to those in need. It's often in our deepest pain that we find our greatest purpose, transforming personal suffering into compassion for others. Her commitment to helping disadvantaged communities wasn't merely a social obligation. It was a heartfelt endeavor, born from a profound understanding of life's fragility and the importance of support. Dina Merrill's life, intertwined with extraordinary wealth and public scrutiny, often sparked quiet discussions about identity and perception. Was she truly a serious actress, or merely a socialite playing dress-up. The perception of her as Hollywood's new Grace Kelly was a double-edged sword. While it provided initial buzz in comparison to a beloved figure, it also perhaps pigeonholed her into a specific type of role, the elegant, unattainable socialite, limiting her range in the eyes of some critics and casting directors. She was often typecast, not necessarily due to a lack of range, but because her real-life persona fit these roles so perfectly. There was also the unspoken debate about her immense family fortune. It was widely believed and often cited that at one point Dina Merrill was the wealthiest actress in the world, with a net worth reportedly exceeding $5 billion, though such figures are often speculative and tied to family trusts. This astonishing figure, though difficult to verify, precisely given the private nature of her family's trusts and investments, often overshadowed her artistic endeavors. Did her wealth make her less relatable to audiences? Did it make her less hungry for success in the eyes of the industry? Some might have dismissed her efforts, assuming her career was merely a hobby for a rich woman. Some argue that her privileged background, while opening certain doors, also presented unique challenges. It could be argued that she had to work harder to prove her talent was genuine, that her acting career was a passion and not just a pastime. She explicitly chose to fund her own acting education, demonstrating a clear desire to earn her way rather than rely on her family's vast resources. This act of independence, while subtle, challenged the prevailing notion that her path was simply paved by her parents' money. She actively sought roles and worked diligently rather than expecting opportunities to be handed to her. Another interesting point of discussion was her political leanings. While her family's background might suggest a staunchly conservative stance, Dina Merrill was a moderate Republican and notably served as vice chairman of the Republican pro-choice coalition. This nuanced political position, advocating for women's health issues within a traditionally conservative party, showcased her independent thought and willingness to challenge party lines. She was also an active campaigner for women's health issues more broadly. It highlighted a woman who was more complex than the societal labels often ascribed to her, defying easy categorization. She was not afraid to hold beliefs that might seem contradictory to her public image or familial background. The long-term importance of Dina Merrill's story transcends the glitz of Hollywood and the vastness of her family fortune. Her life offers profound insights into identity, resilience, and the quiet pursuit of purpose, especially for women of her generation navigating both traditional expectations and burgeoning opportunities. Emotionally, her story reminds us that immense wealth does not shield one from profound personal pain. The loss of her children, while private, humanizes her in a way that no film role ever could. It underscores the universal truth of suffering and the strength required to carry on. Her dedication to charitable work, particularly with the New York City Mission Society, was not just a societal expectation but a deeply felt commitment, perhaps fueled by her own experiences of loss and empathy. She devoted considerable time and energy to improving the lives of others, working tirelessly for those less fortunate, a testament to her compassionate spirit. Culturally, Dina Merrill embodied an era of classic Hollywood glamour, a time when elegance and sophistication were highly prized. She was a bridge between the old-world aristocracy and the burgeoning celebrity culture, effortlessly moving between the two. Her consistent portrayal of upper-crust characters cemented her place in cinematic history as the quintessential refined lady, a type rarely seen with such authenticity today. Her presence on television, especially in beloved shows like The Love Boat and Murder, She Wrote, made her a familiar and welcome face in millions of American homes. leaving a lasting impression of grace and charm. She epitomized a certain kind of refined American woman, blending sophisticated charm with an accessible warmth. Politically, her moderate stance and advocacy for women's health issues demonstrated that influence could extend beyond traditional boundaries. She used her platform not just for entertainment, but to quietly champion causes she believed in, showcasing a sense of social responsibility often overlooked. Her involvement on the boards of major financial institutions like Lehman Brothers, a rarity for women in her time, speaks volumes about her intellect and quiet power in circles far removed from the red carpet. She was a trailblazer in her own right, proving that women could excel in diverse fields traditionally dominated by men without needing to overtly challenge the system. In 1994, she received the Living Legacy Award from the Women's International Center, and in 2005, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, recognizing her significant contributions. What can we truly learn from Dina Merrill? We learn that inherited privilege, while a significant advantage, does not define one's entire being. We learn the power of forging your own path, even when it means defying family expectations and societal norms. We learn that true strength lies not just in public triumphs, but in enduring private heartbreaks with grace. And we learn that a life lived with purpose, whether through artistic expression, sharp business acumen, or quiet philanthropy, leaves an indelible mark. She was a woman who navigated disparate worlds, old money and new Hollywood, corporate boardrooms and television studios, with an unwavering sense of self and an innate elegance. She proved that one could be both a product of their environment and a master of their own destiny. Dina Merrill lived a life that was, in many ways, an American dream, not just of wealth, but of self-determination and profound impact. She was born into a world of unparalleled luxury, yet she chose to step out of its shadow and forge her own identity. From her early days funding her acting lessons by modeling to her later role in resuscitating RKO Studios, she was a woman of quiet ambition and profound resilience. Her life, marked by both dazzling public success and deeply private sorrow, reminds us that beneath the polished veneer of celebrity, there beats a human heart, vulnerable to life's inevitable pains, yet capable of extraordinary grace. Dina Merrill left us with a legacy not just of elegance and cinematic charm, but of a woman who quietly, yet powerfully, authored her own extraordinary story, leaving behind a richer, more nuanced understanding of what it means to be a truly remarkable individual.